So I just wanted to touch on precision agricultural and how UAVs kind of play into that. Um, Obviously, aerial imaging is what we all primarily think of when we think of UAVs in agriculture, and you know getting that imagery and analysis or from the sensors to analyze and kind of give farmers some actionable data, and then intuitively, what we're doing with the MG1 kind of feeds into that, and kind of taking a full approach there in terms of gathering that data, and then using professionals within the industry, agronomists, to kind of interpret that data and then come up with prescriptions, and then using something like the Agras to go ahead and then implement those prescriptions. So I think there's a huge potential for ROI with these products and UAVs in agriculture, and that if a farmer can save X amount of dollars on inputs, whether it be chemicals, labor, operation costs, et cetera, that's where I think the real value, is for this technology. And I think we're just getting started here with this, and it's going to be interesting to see where we all take it. And I say where we all take it because us being the hardware manufacturer, we're not going to get in there and get our hands dirty with the end users, being the farmers, or the ag service providers, as much as our partners and customers would be. So that's going to be where it's going to be key for us all to work together to kind of make this happen. So yeah, the benefits, obviously, safety and efficiency. Operating an Agras is a lot more safe than a crop duster, having to take that risk and fly these crops. And a lot of the times they're flying in very low, and obviously that's not very safe. And efficiency. So that's the whole idea of precision agriculture. Precision being the key word, as opposed to blanket spraying these crops with aerial air or agriculture aircraft. And there's a high drift there that kind of spreads off into the non-targeted surroundings. So UAVs also offer the value of being able to negotiate tough terrain that existing methods, for example, yesterday, our winners of our challenge that we had kind of presented, and they were showing one of their UAVs negotiating this very steep vineyard slope, which is something that is very difficult for their existing methods for spraying to do. So that's something that is definitely a great application for something like the Agras. Although there are some modifications that would need to be made for that particular application. And then also a big value is exposure to chemicals can be significantly reduced. There's spotters and stuff involved with existing methods that are a lot of the times exposed quite severely to these chemicals, and that's a risk to the farmers and to the operators. So I just put up an example here. So say there's a 250-acre plot or field, and only 25% of that, or 25 acres, or 10% of that area needs to be covered. So one application would be spot spraying or spot application for something like the Agras. So instead of blanket spraying with with the crop duster, where obviously there's significant chemicals and input there, where you can spot spray with something in concert with the imaging data and UAVs with the Agras to go ahead and save significantly on that input cost there as far as chemicals. And then, it's slow and time consuming as far as this manual spray application, and a tractor pulling an applicator. There's potential for crop damage there. Soil compaction is a big factor there for farmers as well that wouldn't be an issue with UAVs. So as I mentioned, yeah, blanket spraying with conventional aircraft is inefficient. So there's a spray pattern that's very different from most methods, existing methods, with something like the Agras. UAV, or the Agras and most UAVs obviously generate a lot of air turbulence and downward airflow. So that kind of, I guess, is effective to kind of push that spray down onto the canopy, crop canopy, and penetrate and actually, cover the most or all of the plant, which is something we have going for us as well. So these are just some of the key features of the product. So we have autonomous and semi-autonomous operations. So you can currently fly a serpentine pattern and program that, or not program that, but just set it on the remote to go ahead and fly that pattern autonomously. And then obviously GPS, and there's a microwave radar mounted on the bottom of our units that allows the unit to kind of follow the contour of the crop canopy and adjust accordingly. So yeah, location recording is great so return to home. If for whatever reason you need to stop operation, refill the product or refill the tank or change the battery, the home location was recorded when you started operation, so it'll just come back autonomously, and then you can also pick up where you left off without having to go back manually. It'll just kind of pick up where it left off when you go ahead and re-enter smart mode there. And so fail-safe is another good feature as far as if there's a loss in connection between the RC or what have you. You can either program it to come back home, or as with some of our other platforms, or just go ahead and land safely. Although that might not be ideal in some crops, or especially tree crops or corn crops. It's foldable. It's with something like this, it's meant to be on the farm and thrown in the back of the truck, and something that isn't. I guess portability wasn't our main concern here, but that being said, the arms fold in, and it can be it's relatively portable, 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet or so. Waterproof, dustproof, durable design, IP43 protection rating. So it's pretty. You can go ahead and just spray it off after use to kind of to clean it off after use there. Virtually no maintenance costs in comparison to existing methods. Tractors, obviously, planes, anything, you're going to have significant maintenance costs incurred there, and operation costs in terms of fuel, labor, etc. So, a quick rundown of smart operation. We kind of already touched on all this, but yeah, we also variable spray rate technology is also another key there. That is. So yeah, the smart operation just kind of minimizes human error and increases application quality as far as. These are some of the technical specifications if any of you are interested. Just measurement specs there. Again, it's about 2 feet by 2 feet when it's folded up. It's about 5 feet diameter when the arms are all folded out. It's a pretty large motor size there, as you can see, in comparison with all of our platforms. We have the largest motors there. So it's a fairly robust and powerful unit. And we've got guys within our organization kind of modifying it for all sorts of different uses, as you saw out there. They're slapping gas meters and all sorts of interesting things. The tank is about 2.5 gallons, so again, relatively small. However, like I said, it's not meant to replace existing technology for blanket application with the expansive crops we have here in the U.S. It's more meant to either supplement those efforts and kind of hit, missed spots or kind of parameters of fields or spot application or any other number of applications that you guys have pointed out to me this week, which has been very interesting. There's some new applications that we're very excited about. So, yeah, we kind of touched on all this as well, but benefits: safe and reliable operation, no soil compaction, crop damage, increased canopy penetration. So yeah, regulatory challenges remain primary challenge, I guess, for us with this product. Currently, you pretty much have to be a crop duster in order to operate this thing legally in the U.S. So that's obviously something that's been getting in the way big time. Part 137, in addition to Part 107, is required for operation. That's essentially an aerial applicator certificate for agriculture, and that's required. But that being said, there's certain applications which I'll touch on here in a minute that where the regulations we think are going to be more lax in terms of those specific applications. So yeah, these are some of the current uses overseas. In Asia, as I mentioned, is our primary market right now. So rice, sorghum, maize, tea trees, potatoes, all sorts of different crops they're using it on over there. And some of these obviously apply here. But we see it primarily valuable for smaller acreage and higher value crops. Vegetables, some of those specialty crops and fruit. And I don't see it as an ideal application, again, for broad acreage and lower value crops such as corn and rice and things like that. So yeah, we've touched on this. Spot treatment, blanket application for smaller crops and even wholesale nurseries is definitely something we've been looking into. It's so new here in the U.S., and I think there's a ton of potential for this market for something like the MG-1. And it's going to be most important for our partners and dealers to kind of identify all these opportunities and to make it something that is really going to penetrate here and have some uptake. It's going to be important to match, to match the specifications and the needs of the market in terms of some of those details as far as spray rate or whatever other specifications might need to be met by us. So the feedback right now is going to be huge to modify this. If you guys have any questions on it, let me know.